I don't care if I'm prepared or not. Louis, I don't care if I'm prepared. Oh, hey everybody. Welcome to the MarkZDrums. I am your host, Mark Zapata. I have, what have I done? I am the owner and founder of MarkZDrums. Welcome to this prime time edition of the MarkZDrumcast. How's everybody doing out there? First and foremost, it is, hold on a second. Let me get some light over here. First and foremost, what's up, Blue? We are, hold on a second. We are coming out of the, okay. First and foremost, we are here on a Friday evening. It is, like I said, the primetime edition of the MarkZDrumcast. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of cool stuff happening. Upgrades galore. I ran into a bit of a snag, right? Today we're going to talk a little bit about tech and what we need to do in order to let our tech work for us and help us in everything we're trying to do. So recently I had an unboxing video for my brand new ATEM Mini Pro ISO video switch. And all of the functionality that piece of equipment has added to MarkZDrums Studios. For example, I not only have the ability to live stream like I did with the previous version that I had, the ATEM Mini Pro. I'm sorry, I only had the ATEM Mini, I didn't have the Pro. It allowed me to live stream, but the Mini Pro ISO allows me to record 4 outputs from the 4 cameras that I have attached to it, as well as a 5th recording, which is the actual stream. So it'll be all the 4 inputs will be recorded to an external hard drive, and at the same time, all of the inputs as I switch whatever the preview is coming out, right? Whatever's going to air will also be recorded on a separate file. So what this will allow me to do is to set up multiple camera shoots for my drum cover videos and my instructional videos. And that will allow me to record all of my sources right there through the ATEM onto an external disk drive, without having to then press record on every camera individually. Go ahead and pull all the cards from each camera or somehow get the files from each camera to my editing computer. This all takes care of it for me. Then I take the hard drive with all of the recordings on it, go right to the computer, and I could start my editing immediately. So that's the addition of my ATEM Mini Pro ISO to my studio. I'm running an M1 Mac Mini in this studio. I have an iMac in my voiceover studio, and what I found out was that the best way to control my ATEM Mini is over the network. So what I've decided to do, and I'm actually in the middle of this project right now, is I've decided to hardwire the entire house with Cat 6. And so that's what I'm in the process of doing right now, so that my voiceover studio, this studio, will all be hardwired to my main router in the house, and I will be able to control my ATEM Mini Pro ISO through my computer without having to have the unit connected to my computer. Now, I don't know if everybody's following this, but the output from my ATEM Mini Pro ISO to my computer is what I would use for the live stream. But the output from the ATEM Mini Pro ISO to a disk drive is what I would use when I want to record all my camera feeds at once. So when I have it connected to the hard drive, I would still be able to control it through my computer through the network, which kind of provides a little extra functionality for me here. I'm also setting up an external monitor on my iPad from the ATEM Mini Pro ISO so that I can have my multi-view on the iPad and not have to use my main monitor, which I may be using to monitor the live stream, or may be used to do online lessons or a conference call or some kind of drum clinic where I would have a Zoom call and have a lot of people come on in and join me for that. So a lot of different functionality, but again, what do we have to do? We have to kind of upgrade the infrastructure a little bit, so to speak, and hardwire the house with Cat 6 Ethernet. So I'm in the process of doing that. Fun times here at MarkZDrums Studios. Lots of fun, lots of new stuff coming up on the horizon. As I am still working on the projects that I have been working on, my main project, something else has come up that could see me out more, playing more shows, which is certainly, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I gotta work on this overhead lighting. Sometimes it's just a little much. But yeah, so a project is coming up that could see me out more, playing more live shows, which is what I'd like to do. Haven't been playing live very much lately. Been doing a lot of recording, a lot of writing sessions, a lot of rehearsals for upcoming recordings and things of that nature. But not a lot of performance, and I kind of miss performing. You know, that's something that I really enjoy doing. But in the meantime, I've been living vicariously through my students as their student bands have been performing for end of session concerts or end of season concerts or end of semester concerts. We have one coming up where one of my student bands will be playing homecoming at their high school, so they're all excited about that, and I will be there to help set up and provide support and everything like that. So I've been able to live vicariously through my students as they perform their shows, but I want to get back out there. I like being on stage. I like having fun. I like performing with other musicians, with my band friends, and having a good time. So hopefully we will get back out there before too long, and before we actually get up. Hey, what's up, Jerry? Before we actually get back to touring, which is the ultimate goal down the road, hopefully in the fall and in the spring and the summer of next year. We're working on setting up dates for that. As you may know, the summer season, you have to book it early because a lot of shows, a lot of opportunities are happening, and you know, they're booked out way in advance. So we're working on that touring cycle now, and that's really about it. Anybody who is curious about what is going on here at MarkZDrums Studios, go ahead and check out Mark Zapata Drums on YouTube. Go check out my Patreon. I'm getting ready to roll it out. Actually, I'm working on a couple of things that will be on the Patreon exclusively. I have a couple of cool things coming up. I have a video on laterality, which talks about strong side, weak side. I talk a lot about the left side of my body being completely useless. And it kind of is, and I'm working on that. I'm doing exercises and training the left side of my body to get up to where the right side is, spending a long time playing the majority of notes with my right foot and my right hand, it's time to bring that disparity closer together between my left hand and my right hand, my left foot and my right foot. It also provides a lot of opportunities for us to grow as players, to be able to use all of our limbs equally well, whether it be coordination, whether it be speed, whether it be endurance, control, things like that. All very, very good stuff. So right now I've been working on some songs, some cover tunes from a couple of different bands up my alley around the time where I've really been living musically for a lot of my life. And I'm very, very excited about that. I was having a discussion the other day, actually this morning, was the continuation of this discussion that I had started with some friends earlier in the week. And we were talking about, wow, how different things are today, right? And I'll tell you what kind of spurred this whole line of thinking for me was I was doing a podcast with some of my friends, and we were kind of talking about how we listen to music today as opposed to how we did years ago. And by years ago, we can say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or you think about when you were a kid in your teens, or when I was a kid in my teens, consuming music, how did that work? And also the discussion kind of centered around what was the equipment, right? I used to work for Nobody Beats the Wiz. I used to sell electronics. I got discounts. I used to make money, and in that job, and I used to bring home some really cool audio equipment. I had some very high-end speakers, power amps, and things like that. And I remember having a great sound system at one time. And then as things started to change, what ended up happening was the home stereo system turned into the home theater system, and you kind of started to split duty. Yes, you would start to split your duty of your sound system between listening to music and watching movies. And so the configuration would change. You added more speakers around the room. You had a center channel speaker. Maybe you had a subwoofer. And the size of the speakers changed over time. I used to have these tall, thin main speakers called Mission speakers, and very expensive high-end speakers. I also had the Serwin Vega Q1s, which were smaller and boxier, but big, beautiful wooden cabinets. I think about a 12-inch woofer and a tweeter system in it. But anyway, those were very high-end speakers and amplifiers that I had. And when I moved over to the home theater systems, again, the configurations changed. I used my home theater more so for watching movies than listening to music, but it also served its purpose for listening to music. And nowadays, I find myself listening to a lot of my music in my car with a stock stereo system, which I'm thinking about upgrading, because it really does make a difference from the stock. Even if you have a great sound system, there are limiters and stuff in there that keep the sound just so. And upgrading my head unit is something I've been thinking about, because I do listen to a lot of music in my car. But there's also times I'm listening to music on my headphones or on my Alexa. And all of these way different experiences from listening to a high-end stereo system. And yes, technology has gotten better with smaller speakers producing better sound, but nothing compares listening to music on your cell phone, let's say, to listening to music on a high-end sound system. Now, I still have a 150 watt power amp in my voiceover studio with the Serwin Vega Q1 speakers. So when I want to listen to music, I go into my studio, my office, and I can listen to music. I can listen to some very high quality audio through that system. but I also have my stereo monitors here in this room. And there's a lot of different ways. I even have a waterproof speaker in my shower that I'll put on and listen to music. And the other day I remember saying, wow, this doesn't sound too bad. But it really made me think about, wow, but it's nothing compared to how we used to listen to music. Besides the fact that for some reason I started thinking more about 8-tracks, because a lot of my formative years when I was in my early teens, I was getting 8-tracks from my older siblings, and that was my source of music, and that kind of formed my musical taste growing up. And I had my 8-track player, and I remember putting the big cassettes in and listening to songs, right? I had Aerosmith Rocks, I had Led Zeppelin Presence, I had Animals by Pink Floyd, and a bunch of, I had a Tubes, I think it was a Tubes 8-track. I forget what record it was, might have been White Punks on Dope, and a lot of great stuff. And so for some reason I've been thinking about those old 8-tracks and how in the middle of a song, the song would fade out. You'd hear this kind of like big clunky sound, and then the song would fade back in after it changed tracks. So I've actually seen people selling old 8-tracks. So I think I'm going to end up buying myself an old 8-track player and setting it up in my either in my voiceover studio or in my den with my home theater, and just getting a hold of some 8-tracks. People are still selling them. They're still around. I even have a buddy of mine plays drums for KK's Priest, KK Downing's new band, and they're putting out their new record on a cassette tape, a red cassette tape. So check that out. That's pretty cool. I didn't know cassettes were still around. Yeah. I know vinyl's coming back, and they're doing some really cool things with vinyl. And I've gone to a lot of local shows here in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and a lot of the touring bands have set themselves up with some nice, really sweet vinyl merch that you can, when you go to the shows, you can get them exclusively there at the shows. And there's just colored discs with different patterns on them and all kinds of really, really cool stuff. And I recently saw a video about how they make those discs with the different colors and the different patterns and everything like that. And it's a really, really cool process. I'm super glad all of that stuff is still around, because you compare the experience today of, you hear about a new song on the internet, something pops up on your TikTok or whatever it is, the younger people today are using, and where they get their information from. And then it's probably as simple as pressing your phone when you see that ad for that new album come up, pressing a button on your phone, and and you have the album, you're listening to it instantly, right? It's think about that, thinking about compared to the people that are my age, adult plus, I'll call myself, and you'd go to the record store, and sometimes you heard the announcement, you knew on the radio or something that one of your favorite bands was releasing music soon, and you'd show up to the record store that day and go get the new release, go get the new vinyl. Or you would just go to the record store on a random day. You look at the board, you see what's being released, you see what's out now, what just came out last week. And you can go and check it out. You can, thumb through the record albums and see if an album cover caught your eye. Go to a genre, the section of your favorite genre. Just thumb through and see what's going on. And you never knew what you could find. And then further down the road, you would have like the listening station set up with headphones. Now you can go in, you could preview the album before you would buy it. You listen to a few tracks, you'd get into it. So a very, very different experience back then. People tend to download the hits that they like, the one song that they like from this artist. And that's the way artists are releasing their songs these days. Just one song. They're releasing their music, one song, boom. A month later, another song. A month later, another song. Some artists are releasing full albums, but not before they've released 3 tracks already, then the album comes out. This is a very, very different thing. Listening to music, you get the album of your favorite band that just came out. You just got back from the record store. What do? You rip that thing open, you throw it on the record player, and you sit down and you look at the album jacket, the front, you study the cover, you flip it over, you look at the back, you look at the song list, you look at the liner notes, the thank yous, who produced the record, who guest starred on the record, whatever it was. There may be pictures on the back, concert shots, and you'd see that your favorite band live that way. You'd pull the sleeve out, the inner sleeve, and maybe there would be lyrics on there or more pictures on there. And if you were lucky, you had a book. You pull out a book. Maybe you had all the lyrics in this little book and lots of pictures and things like that. Really, really cool. For hours you would sit, go through this album and listen to it over and over and over again. And because you had that record jacket, you knew the names of every song. When I started using CDs, I just knew track numbers as far as, oh, I like track number 3, I like track number 5. I was not big at retaining album names, song names and stuff like that. But when I was younger, I knew the name of everybody in the band and what they did. I knew who produced the record. I knew who they thanked. I knew the lyrics. If they were included in the record, I knew the lyrics. I knew a lot about the band. My favorite thing would be not only concert footage, like concert pictures on the album jacket, but maybe some behind the scenes stuff, like them just hanging out, the band hanging out somewhere together and away from the persona you see on the stage. And that was always cool too. So a very, very, very different experience that we have today between digital downloads, physical media pretty much gone, except for the people that still like to listen to vinyl. And like I said, when I buy my new old 8-track player, just to kind of revisit that technology again. I've been thinking about buying a record player. I do have a milk crate of records in my basement. Now, why is it that we could always find a milk crate to put our records in? And why was it that a milk crate would always be the perfect size to hold our record albums? I don't know. But just a lot of nostalgia for me, thinking about going back and listening to music the way we used to. It is totally a different experience today. And I think the young people coming up today that do not have albums, do not have cassettes, do not have 8-tracks, are missing out somewhat. I will still argue that a vinyl sounds better than a CD or a digital download by nature of the recording and playback process. I've had these arguments with people as well, digital is better, CDs are better than anything. Yeah, I don't know that it's really possible based on the way CDs work and the way digital music works. The conversion from analog to digital, there is definitely some information lost, okay? But I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert, but that is my understanding of how the conversion works from analog to digital. If anybody has any comments or any information or opinions on that, go ahead, leave them down in the comment section below. That is fine. So yeah, getting back to a little bit about what I actually, it's true, Jerry. And I remember interning at a studio where we used reel-to-reel tapes, and I used to do the editing with the old razor blade and tape. It was a pretty awesome time and super cool. But yeah, I actually have my dad's Sony reel-to-reel in my basement, where as a kid, I used to grab that microphone, we used to plug guitars into it, and we used to record some stuff on my dad's reel-to-reel. Really my first experience ever with recording anything and using any kind of an effect. I think it had a reverb on it. But yeah, that's another thing that I have to pull out and kind of dust off and open up and just take a look at it. Because I remember having a lot of fun times with that reel-to-reel recorder. And who knows what's still on those tapes. But yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. Yeah, it was a pretty nice piece of equipment at the time. But I don't think I would ever sell it. I think it's just too much a part of my childhood for me to think about that. That's why I grabbed it. When my dad sold his house and moved to Florida, I said, "Can I take this?" And he goes, "Yeah, go ahead, take it." So yeah, I mean, I think that it's something that I hope stays around, that kind of technology. I like when artists want to record, albums in analog as much as they can. I think that there is a kind of a movement back to that type of recording. But people have to be willing to take that recording process, warts and all, as far as the convenience that everybody enjoys today with Pro Tools and digital recording, and the ability you have to fix anything, clean anything up quickly and easily and cleanly in a digital format, and as opposed to analog. Starting the process with analog, getting your sounds, and getting your drum sounds could take a day or two to dial in a really good drum sound. And then, making sure your performance is up to par, so that we're doing one take or two takes, we're limiting the amount of takes, and we're spending the majority of the time and money on the production part of it and not the tracking part. So really a different animal recording in analog. Much more, a great process, but compared to what goes on today in recording studios, a much more labor intensive and sometimes tedious process. So, but kudos to anybody out there that still likes to do things the old fashioned way. And with that, I'm going to bid you all adieu from the MarkZDrums Studios. This primetime edition of the MarkZ Drumcast has been brought to you by MarkZ and Louie. Please check out all my socials, MarkZ Drums across all platforms. Go check out my Patreon. I have some cool stuff going up on there very, very soon. Some really cool exclusive stuff you're not going to want to miss. But if you are tuned to my YouTube channel, you will see the announcements coming up, and maybe you will consider coming down and becoming a member and enjoying all the great benefits. We've got stickers, so keep that in mind. And everybody loves a sticker. So with that, thank you very much. Like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you to Jerry. Let me just see what Jerry is up to before I say goodbye. Oh, okay. All right. I hear you. Oh, yeah. Agreed. Okay. Peace out. Remember, practice hard. And I don't know, what do I usually say? I'll catch you next time. Have a great night. And we'll see you on Monday for another great episode of the MarkZ Drumcast. Take care, Jerry.